Introducing the Pillbox. A base now infamous following Wiljum's last video, this is my answer to the 2x1 or 2x2 meta which is currently being used by pretty much everyone in Rust. It's a battle-tested design that has seen me through countless wipes. The shooting floor in particular is its key selling point. This allows you as a starter on an area to project as much area dominance as necessary to keep pesky neighbours from moving in next to you. Inside the shooting floor itself, we make space for a research table, a mixing table and a large battery, utilising the dead space behind the conditional roofs. Down inside the base itself, we have space for 3 sleeping bags, 5 large boxes, a barbecue and a small box. There's even room for an electrical furnace as well as 3 furnaces here. If you deem it necessary, you can even incorporate the industrial piping in a very clean setup. On the front of the base, we have garage doors located here, which is my personal preference because I always hide a turret behind these. You'd be surprised how often it's useful to drop this out on people who are looking to door camp you or just being pesky in your area. Anyway, on with the build. Okay, welcome to the Pillbox build. Starts off with a high triangle like so, and then you just continue with a set of triangles like this. You're going to claim the build spot by placing a half wall on this triangle and upgrading as so. Slap 2 walls in and place your TC to secure your build location. Once that's done, you're going to want to go ahead and place 3 full walls at the back like so. Create a half wall here if you want to use a vending machine, otherwise just use a full height. In this instance I'm going to, so I'm just going to go ahead and put down a vending machine in that place now. For the front, we're going to put 2 half walls here, that's where our furnaces will live. And then we're going to create our triangle floor here, which is basically our living space. Slap on a airlock on the front, as you would expect anywhere. I'm going to use a shop front just because I like using shop fronts on my airlocks, because I just enjoy having that kind of visibility, but it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Use a wall if you wish. Slap the doors on and you get to go from there. Obviously remember to put your triangle roof in. Okay, so feeling pretty confident. Area nice and secure. Just finish off with those 3 high walls behind. Return to your TC. You've got 2 options. You can either do a wood. You can do a door frame, or you can do a window frame. I prefer to do a window frame because it gives you more space to operate with electrical branches across the front. It's kind of like a work area where the workbench is going to go, so I'm going to place that down there, but it's entirely your choice. So now we're going to move into placing the furnaces at the front. Takes a bit of doing, but it is possible. Make sure it's far the corners can go, and it goes blue. Place that down, hop over, then slowly bring that forward. And you're eventually going to get the sweet spot, like so, where it goes blue. Don't worry if it doesn't happen straight away, it does take a bit of practice. I don't usually do it that quickly, but thankfully I got it on the recording. Throw down your bags. You can have space for 3 in here. However, it can get a bit dodgy if you don't place them correct off the bat, just like I did there. There you go, you've got 3 bags, and clearly if you want to put a 4th, you can stick it into the airlock, but not everyone's cup of tea. Okay, so place down your workbench, that's going to live just on that shelf there. And now we're going to move up in the world. So we're going to go ahead and place down our internal shelf, just to make life a bit easier. You can obviously use a ladder if you have it, but I'm assuming you won't right at the start of the wipe. Upgrade this all to stone, and then we're going to put in 3 half walls as such. Okay, so once you've got that in place, we're now just going to circle off here. Now you can deviate this if you would like to, because you don't want to have 360-degree view, so you can change these 3 window frames to full walls if you are particularly concerned about that. I again prefer the 360 degrees, so I'm just going to keep it as it is. Use your triangle roofs and you're going to see how the shooting floor is coming together. Just circle that off and go ahead and place and upgrade this all to stone. For the roof tiles at this stage, we're going to upgrade it straight to wood. because we're going to use the space behind it, and we're going to need a little bit of time in order to get the items we're going to need to put into there, namely the battery, the research table, and the mixing table. So wood initially, and yes, the soft side on this is able to be hit, so bear that in mind. But I tolerate it as a, tolerable risk, just so I have the ease of upgrading to stone later on. So now we've got the inside of our pillbox kind of established. We're quite happy where we are right now. Throw down this ladder. You can use a siren light if you would prefer, but that it is what it is. Total build cost so far has been effectively 9.5k stone. So just get 10 and you'll be good to go, or just over, because you have to upgrade the actual internal ramps to stone. But we'll now move into placing the boxes down below. So our comps box is going to go on the tight left hand side here, the ore box on the right hand side, armor box, and then our guns box when it comes in is just going to go to the left of it. The last box we're placing here, this guns box, there's a bit of a knack to do it. You want to place it as far over to the left and back as you can. Not to get it symmetrical with the rest of the boxes, but to create as much space as possible. Because there's enough space either to put a barrel here or a couple of furnaces, but it's entirely your call on how you want to do that. And then lastly, but definitely not least, your final box, your drop box. Makes life a bit easier. Operating from here, you don't fall the way in. And you got a 5-box storage straight away. We have space for a barbecue and a small box. You rotate like that just for ease of access. As you can see, quite a good amount of box space there. Now, this base benefits from traps, so we're going to get into that quickly just before we deal with the upstairs, but clearly in actual build order you wouldn't do it this laissez-faire. But here we go. Shotgun trap placement in this can be quite nice. If you can tuck into the left-hand wall here, and you want to place this shotgun trap above the vending machine if you've placed it, use it as a good guide. Try and get a nice angle like that, because from the doorway point of view, it's just going straight into the incoming player, shooting straight into their head. Final 2 places for shotgun traps you can use are just below the floors here. So you've got one above the comps box and one above the armor box. I guarantee no one's expecting that, and if someone jumps in here trying to go deep, you might end up with a free kill and your base being saved. I'm going to go ahead and place down some electrical branches. You can see why I prefer the window, just to give you a bit more access here. And let's go upstairs and deal with this ongoing weak problem here that we have. So, key point with the roof slats here is you want to do this in either Brutalist, Jungle Stone, or the Red Masonry Stone. And the reason for that is if you just use the Vanilla Stone, you're going to see here is even if I pick up that ladder, you can't get down here. Unfortunately, FacePound changed how these roofs interact with it, and there's now a hitbox which effectively blocks you. So you have to use one of the pay-to-win skins. I'm using Brutalist in this example, but I believe that Jungle is also fine. Also, the Red Masonry brick is equally okay. So we're going to start putting in our deployables up here now, and we're going to start making use of the space behind. With the mixing table, make sure you've got the actual teapot and kettle and the hob, if you will, closest to you, and you're just kind of aiming to get it in the center, so you can see that rear wall here, if you will, is closest to the corner. This allows you to access it once this snaps in place, once the other roof's in place, and that will make sense. We're going to place down our large battery and our research table as well. So the research table goes in first. Rotate that so magnifying glass side is closest and as tight as you can over to your mixing table. You can go ahead and place that, and it should look something like this. And then you can go ahead and place your battery, either large or medium, entirely up to you. Now, key thing here before you do anything further, including sealing this off, is with your battery, you want to connect your power in and your power out to the electrical branches I've placed downstairs. The reason they're all branches I'll come to later, but for now, don't worry too much about it. So connect the power out into this bottom one here, just to connect these in sequence so we have some electricity to play with later on. And then your power in, you're just going to connect that to the power out of this electrical branch, like so. Change that to 1. It will make sense in a moment, I promise you. Okay, so you've now done everything we need to do in terms of placing things upstairs, so you can go ahead and just seal this off, and upgrade, and you're good to go. And as you can see, it's snapped in, but you still have access to everything that you want to here. You can sometimes get access into the battery, but because I've already shown you how to kind of get around that, it's not too much of an issue if you can't hook into it from there. Clearly, if you've got these fancy items, you've probably got the stage where you want to replace this either with horizontal embrasures or glass. I'll leave it again entirely up to you on how you want to do that. In my opinion, I like to put glass just for the kind of 360 awareness, but I appreciate some people might want to be able to shoot out the back of it. Due to this being your base, you can decide how you want to do it. Okay, so we're kind of getting the stage now where we're highly likely to have moved off of tier 1, but for those who are just interested in the kind of base build, you can probably stop at this stage. I'm now going to move into effectively what this looks like under a tier 2 kind of setup, where we can kind of get into a bit more advanced stuff of doing the auto cooking furnaces, auto closing and opening garage doors, and a turret on the base just for a little bit of extra defense and playing around with. So at that stage we're going to throw in some door frames for our garage doors. So we have the wall frames for garage doors, place them as such, door controller on. Okay, so we're now going to put the electrical components in for this, or the network, if you will. We're going to require 1 OR switch, 2 AND switches, and 2 HPF sensors. Placement of these being key, and you want to configure these to allow friendly in and out. Okay, so follow the wiring here. I won't explain it because otherwise I'll just be talking the whole time. And we've now established a circuit which effectively picks us up on the other side. For those who aren't aware, heartbeat sensors will only ever output 1 rust watt per person that they see outside. And generally speaking, it's only ever going to be 1. So you're kind of limited if you want to rig up additional stuff through the circuit. So that's what I'm using the AND switch for. The AND switch receiving its power from the heartbeat sensor here, saying yes, 1 rust watt has come through because it's detecting me. And then it's also allowing this 88 worth of power to come through here. We're going to need to level out the power being drained from the whole circuit, so we're going to want to have at least 7 rust watts coming through in total. So we're just going to balance that power output here on this middle electrical branch. I'm going to put that to 7. So what we have here effectively is 2 heartbeat sensors picking us up at any one time, but that's important because when you come into your base and the one on the far wall there can't see you, this one still can, and it starts opening up the doors ahead of time for you. Wonderful way of coming back home, because no one ever likes closing garage doors and no one ever does it, so it's just a kind of fail safe for making sure you always have your doors closed. It's as simple as going into the power in, through the pass-through. You haven't got to do anything more fancy than that. Literally power in, power out. Because all we're telling the door controller to do is when you receive power, you turn on, and when you lose your power, aka the system turns off, you close. And it doesn't need to be more complicated than that. The door controllers will also deactivate if the TC is broken, so you haven't got to worry about someone just being able to walk into base if they get TC priv. They deactivate from the doors, so it's perfectly safe as long as you have your TC locked ahead of time. Also, it's a parish notice for anyone who does building bases, always lock your TC. So again, just to look at this here, really simple circuit. All you can see here, this is the left-hand heartbeat sensor receiving power. The YAN switch won't allow that power unless both sides are receiving inputs. So for example, if I stand here, this can't see me. You've got the green indicating power pushing from one side. This one's red, so it won't allow the power to come through, so nothing is being transmitted. As soon as I go forward, all of a sudden the power is being pushed through here, and then the OR switch is exactly the opposite of the AND. It doesn't require both, it just requires one or the other, hence the OR in its name. And this clearly is AND, so AND being both sides. I would have called that both switch, but I'm not a face punch dev. Hopefully you followed that. I appreciate some people don't get electricity at all, but it's quite a simple circuit once you know how to set it up. Okay, so I promised you a walkthrough as to why we were doing electrical branch as opposed to just straight route combiners, and the reason is for automatic lights. It's a really simple circuit that I always build on any base I do now, just because it's quite an easy one to throw together. So we have our regular route combiners that anyone would expect to kind of come across. Just gonna go ahead and start wiring those up upstairs. And I'm not going to use God mode just to show you what I do when it comes to an actual live server. I just use a spiral staircase to go up and down just to get to the roof, because it's really, really simple and it's exactly what you need when you just throw it on some solar panels. Now, for those who don't know, solar panels always need to be facing north. You don't need to think too much about the reason as to why. Effectively, the answer is because of how the sun is positioned throughout most of the day. It's on the north of the map / centre of the map, but that really transpires into the north, so just always position your solar panels in the north. So go ahead and just get those linked up, and you'll definitely want to have a jump up at some point, but initially during the start of the build probably don't want to have that because it makes it easy for people to come and counter you. And then you just go ahead and wire those up. So we now have our power coming in, and we've got good juice coming into the actual battery upstairs. Now the reason we've got this electrical branch out like so is because this one power on this empty branch out is going to eventually be our toggle, because right now this is receiving 30 power, it transmits 29 inside to the battery. And this one extra power we have here, we're going to use as a switch to say, okay, the sun is now gone, and we're going to want the lights to come on now. So you're going to need an additional item here, which is going to be the blocker. And we can go ahead and place our blocker just down here. And I'm going to indicate that branch out with a nice blue line to show that it's going into the blocker. I'm going to put that into the block pass-through. Okay, so we put some juice in here. As you can see, the red light is indicating that we are receiving block pass-through. So right now nothing is being pushed through here. If I just upgrade this to 3 and then throw in some lights, I'm going to use the industrial ones again because pay to win is absolutely a thing, and these only require 1 rust watt as opposed to 2, and they can be placed anywhere you like. But I'm going to connect that from the blocker and then connect those in sequence into and then I won't bore you with having to wait for night time. Let's go ahead and disconnect this now by removing that. and then hey presto, the lights come on. Really simple switch. And as you can appreciate, the lights aren't needed clearly throughout the day, and at night time they'll turn on, so you're not losing power, and you are just gaining it the whole time when they're not required. So that's your basic electricity kind of setup on the internal, and we're now going to move into setting up the electrical industrial system inside of here. So in order to do that, we're going to need to make use of the space we saved earlier. So we're going to go ahead and put down our our electric furnaces. Like I said, it's either 1 or 2, it really depends on the placement you get. You can faff with this a little bit to try and get 2, but given that I'm recording this, trying to do this in one take, I'm just going to admit defeat and just do it in 1. You absolutely can do 2, and for those who are keen to mess about with it and try better placements than myself, it is, you know, the world's your oyster. So let's go ahead and get the industrial stuff down. Okay, so we're just going to use 1 in this instance here. We're going to 5 industrial adapters in total. So placing 1 on there, 3 on there, and then 1 on this ore box. You'll need to pick up the drop box to activate this, unfortunately. Okay, so with your pipe tool in hand, we can start connecting these up. So from industrial out, just run that across the back of the pillbox itself, run it up, and place it nice and neatly. If that's something which particularly bothers you, across the back. As you can tell, it's something which does bother me. And we're going to run it into these 2 industrial movers rather. Everyone knows pipes are a bit fiddly, but there you go. Run this all the way around. Run this back on itself. Continue running this back around, up, back over to this industrial mover, and back all the way. Don't worry about my monstrosity of the piping here. I promise you it's semi-clean, and that's all it has to be. And we're all set there. Okay, so go ahead and replace your drop box. You've got your piping all sorted now. Just need to connect up the units themselves now. So 2 power is all you need. Into the power in and then pass through. And as you can see, just turn them on. You don't even need to set any preferences here because the furnaces will only ever accept ore and wood anyway. So just to prove that system is working for you, I'll just magic in some wood, some sulfur, and some ore. And you can start seeing this, will just start pulling it through. And each of these will have something corresponding. Now you can turn these on manually if you want to get some points for flare, which, because you're here building the pillbox, I imagine you probably do. We're going to do something, again, not a lot of people really take advantage of because electricity is scary, outside of just putting a small battery into a turret. I promise you, it's nothing really to be too worried about. We're going to use a button and an igniter, and we're just going to connect this igniter straight into the button. It does not require any power outgoing from the battery or these branches. The button produces its own power, and as you can see, big red button, push the button, everything turns on and starts cooking through. And then you've got a really easy system that's going to cook through your sulfur for you, and you're good to go. Obviously you'll want to power up your electrical furnace, and make sure you put 3 on there, and she's alive. Okay, so we're now going to move into really the final addition that I've ever really used in the pillbox, which is the turret on the front. So we're going to throw down a switch, again, wherever you want to put it. I'm just going to put it here. And we're going to run our 12 power, 12, not 10, out into the switch itself, and then go ahead and turn that on. It'll be useful in a moment. Run this through. Obviously you get as semi tidy as you can. Come outside. Go ahead and place a ladder jump up, make your life a bit easier for yourself, because why make things difficult. And then go ahead and place this wonderful little structure on the front. This is a wonderful turret house, and you can go ahead and place down your turret here. Switch her onto peacekeeper mode, and just we'll leave her as that for now. We'll put down some garage doors either side, and we're going to connect the door controllers onto them as such. Make sure for points for style to have the rollers on the inside, just to have it look a bit cleaner. It's not a requirement, but if you want to make me proud, that'd be a good place to start. Again, super simple. The door controllers, just putting the power into the power in, because all we're telling it to do is open when it receives power, and then run it from the pass-through through to the power in of the second one, and then the pass-through of that door controller is going to go through into the actual turret itself. Whack on your locks, and then, hey presto, you've got a wonderful turret to provide a bit of protection for the front of your base. And even better, you can close it if you would like to, so you haven't got to worry about it. As you can see, the garage doors opening and closing quite nicely for us, just welcoming us home. Okay, and that's pretty much the build, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's my kind of answer to the 2x1 and 2x2, as I've said. It's a starter through and through. Yes, there are some limitations and trade-offs, but this base ultimately is all about its shooting floor. That's what gives you that area control, which is so desperately needed at the start of wipes. This footprint allows you to place these pretty close to recyclers, mining outposts, and supermarkets, just to get that early crucial area control down. And if you're not doing that and being really ratty, it's a really good flank base to have, just overlooking your base, and maybe a strategic hill over an ice lake or something. And clearly the terrain will dictate it, but I've always found them to be useful to have a few kits in here. I hope you've enjoyed this, and it's been my first ever Rust video, so you've all asked for it, so here it is. Anyway, Wonka out.